General Vexlar of the Draconid Imperium stared at the holographic battle simulation with 6 narrowed eyes. His scaled appendages tightened around the command console as the scenario played out for the 15th time. The result remained unchanged. "Impossible," he hissed, baring razor-sharp teeth. "Run it again. Factor in atmospheric advantages." Strategic Officer Keel Zax bobbed his elongated head nervously. "Supreme General, we've run every conceivable simulation. The conclusion is statistically sound, unacceptable." Vexlar's tail lashed violently, knocking a junior officer across the war room. "These humans are soft-skinned primitives. Their world is barely 50 years into space travel. They cannot possibly resist a Draconid invasion force." High Commander Tizara, the only female in the War Council, approached the hologram. Unlike her agitated colleagues, her movements were measured, deliberate. "The simulations are correct, General," she said, her voice carrying the distinct harmonics of the Imperial elite. "But perhaps we are asking the wrong questions." Vexlar turned all 6 eyes toward her. "Explain." Tizara manipulated the holographic controls, zooming in on Earth. "We've analyzed human technology, weaponry, and space capabilities, all of which are indeed primitive by our standards. What we fail to consider," she paused, "is the humans themselves." The hologram shifted to display human physiological data. "Observe, humans evolved on a world with significantly higher gravity than our homeworld. Their musculature is denser, their skeletal structure more robust. A single human soldier can carry equipment weighing nearly half their body mass for extended periods." Cal Zax chittered dismissively. "Physical strength is irrelevant in modern warfare." "Is it?" Tizara countered. "Our intelligence suggests humans can continue fighting with injuries that would incapacitate our warriors. They can lose significant amounts of their blood volume and remain combat effective. Some reports indicate they can even function with organs damaged or removed." The war room fell silent as the implications sank in. "There's more," Tizara continued. "Humans possess remarkable endurance. While our warriors require recovery after short bursts of activity, humans can maintain moderate exertion for hours, even days." Vexlar's inner eyelids flickered the Draconid equivalent of disbelief. "No sentient species could evolve such traits naturally. They did not evolve for war, General. They evolved for persistence hunting." Tizara displayed primitive humans chasing prey across vast distances. Their ancestors would pursue prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. "They are, by evolutionary design, relentless." "Fascinating biology lesson," Vexlar sneered, "but ultimately irrelevant. Our technological superiority may not be the advantage we assumed," Tizara interrupted, a breach of protocol that silenced the room. "Humans adapt with remarkable speed. Consider their brief history. They progressed from primitive flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years. From splitting the atom to quantum computing in less than a century." She pulled up another hologram historical footage of human warfare. "Most concerning is their creativity in combat. Humans weaponize everything. When lacking proper weapons, they improvise. When outnumbered, they set traps. When outgunned, they change the rules of engagement entirely." The hologram showed humans fighting in diverse environments: Arctic wastelands, scorching deserts, dense jungles, urban ruins. Unlike our warriors, who train for specific combat conditions, humans adapt to whatever environment they face. They fight in extremes that would kill most Draconid troops before enemy contact. General Vexlar stared at the data, his initial dismissiveness giving way to grudging consideration. "You suggest we reconsider the invasion? I suggest we recognize what we're truly facing." Tizara displayed a final hologram, a human medical scan. This human female sustained critical injuries in a civilian accident. multiple bone fractures, internal hemorrhaging, organ damage. By all physiological logic, immediate death should have resulted. She swiped to another image. This is the same human, one of their years later. Not only survived, but fully recovered and functional. Their medical logs indicate she completed something called a marathon afterwards. Wechsler's crest flattened against his skull, a sign of deep concern. Their regenerative capabilities exceed our estimates. Their everything exceeds our estimates, Tizara said flatly. We've been measuring their ships, their weapons, their technology. We should have been measuring their will. She closed the holographic display with a decisive gesture. Intelligence indicates humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. I believe we've gravely underestimated what this means in practice. 3 days later, aboard the Imperial flagship Inevitable Dominion, Supreme Overlord Zeke Thayar received the War Council's revised assessment. His massive frame dwarfed the ornate throne as he absorbed the report. So, his voice rumbled through the chamber. The mighty Draconid Imperium fears these humans? General Wechsler kept his eyes lowered. Not fear, Supreme Overlord. Tactical reassessment. Explain to me, Zeke Thayar leaned forward, why we cannot simply bombard their world from orbit. Their planetary defenses are minimal. High Commander Tizara stepped forward. Supreme Overlord, human history suggests this approach would be. Unlike other species we've conquered, humans become more dangerous when threatened. Their historical records show that when faced with overwhelming force, they do not surrender, they unite. She displayed evidence of human conflicts. During their primitive stage, isolated human nations facing superior forces developed guerrilla tactics, insurgency strategies, and asymmetric warfare techniques that confounded numerically and technologically superior opponents. Furthermore, she continued, humans display a troubling psychological trait. When conventional victory appears impossible, they become willing to absorb catastrophic losses to inflict damage on their enemy. They call it going down fighting. Zeke Thayar's scales rippled with irritation. You speak of primitives with primitive weapons. Our technology can be stolen, Supreme Overlord, Tizara interrupted. An act so bold that gasps echoed through the chamber. Humans reverse engineer technology with alarming efficiency. Every weapon we deploy against them would eventually be turned against us. She displayed a final simulation. Our models predict that even if we achieved initial victory, human resistance would never cease. Each generation would become more adapted to fighting us, more skilled at exploiting our weaknesses. A conflict projected to last 3 months could stretch into decades, centuries. Silence engulfed the throne room. Finally, Supreme Overlord Zeke Thayar rose to his full, impressive height. You recommend? Tizara met his gaze directly. Covert contact. Diplomatic engagement. Careful cultural exchange. We approach humans not as conquerors, but as potential allies. Allies? Wechsler couldn't contain his outrage. With primitives. With beings, Tizara corrected, who evolved on a death world, survive injuries that would kill us instantly, adapt to any environment, weaponize anything available, fight beyond all rational surrender points, and advance technologically at an exponential rate. She paused. I believe the human expression is, if you can't beat them, join them. Zeke Thayar's laugh, a sound rarely heard, filled the chamber. A species too dangerous to conquer. How? Refreshing. He settled back onto his throne. Commander Tizara, prepare a diplomatic envoy. Let us meet these deadly humans properly. As the council dispersed, Tizara reviewed the classified human combat footage one final time. The Draconid Imperium had conquered 17 star systems through overwhelming force. For the first time in their history, they had encountered a species where that approach would lead to mutual destruction. The humans never knew how close they had come to invasion, nor how thoroughly their deadliness had saved them.